Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. If you're in the United States, everyone lost an hour, so we've all leapt ahead. But spring is here, longer days. That's exciting. And I'm really excited because today we have kind of a different show for us because we're going to be talking about audiobooks. And we have USA Today bestselling author Anna Lowe is here, and we're hoping that her narrator might even show up. So you guys will just have to wait and see, just like us, and we'll see if she makes it, but that would be really cool. But anyway, so we're going to talk about audiobooks and how they happen and all that kind of thing, and I'm excited for you to meet Anna. She's fantastic. So if you haven't read her books yet, you're in for a treat, and they are all in audio. And I'll read her bio here so you can get to know her. USA Today and Amazon best-selling author Anna Lowe loves putting the hero back in heroine and letting location ignite a passionate romance. She loves dogs, sports, and travel, and letting the later inspire her fiction. If she's not hunched over her laptop working on her latest story, you'll find her hiking in the mountains or biking country roads. Either way, the day will end with a chunk of dark chocolate and a good read. And I did put a link to Anna's website right there on the Blog Talk site. So if you're listening live or if you're listening later, you can click that anytime and sign up for her newsletter. I believe you get an audiobook just for signing up, but she can tell us for sure. And if Kelsey gets here, her narrator, she is from Denver and now lives in LA, where she does all kinds of acting and voice acting, and I did put her information on the website as well, but wow, she has quite a resume for audiobooks and that kind of thing. So without any delay, I'll let Anna tell you all about Kelsey because she knows her. But Anna, are you there?
I am. Hi, Lisa. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. And I'm so excited because I have two of my series are out in audiobooks so far. Well, actually, the first book of the third series is also in audio. But you have, how many books do you have in audio now?
Well, we have a lot. And when I say we, I mean myself and Kelsey Osbourne, my narrator. And I guess we'll talk about that later, like how it all got, how we got matched, so to speak. But I think I've lost count. It's over 30. I have 5 series of 5 or 6 books each, and odds and ends. And as you mentioned, yes, I have 2 free audiobooks that you can get on my website when you sign up for my newsletter. So I love doing that because I know audio can be an investment of time and of money, and obviously of money, but time too. So you got to test if it's for you, and that's why I make sure I have a couple books that people can try out to see if it matches their interest.
Yeah, and I actually was not an audiobook listener until my first series came out in audio, and I thought, well, I guess I should listen to it and see if it's okay. And I was so amazed because narrators really bring a whole other dimension to your book. Like they pick things up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't, even just writing it and reading it to myself, they pull things out and you can really see the character arc of the characters changing. And how do you feel about it, audio?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I hear that again and again. Don't ask me, ask the listeners. And I hear that again. Like when you read reviews, they're like, oh, I've read this book, but hearing it in audio brought out aspects I didn't catch the first time around. Or I laughed at different parts. Or, oh, now I understand the background of the character. And obviously it was in the written book, but I guess maybe the way your eye goes over the page or the mood that you're in at the moment, whatever it may be, I don't have an answer for explanation for it, but it comes up again and again how audio just brings out the depth of the story. So I guess maybe that's a good way to think of it is we kind of get a more 3D experience. So if you see the word on the flat page or on your flat ebook reader, that's one, and your mind is doing all the work translating those, that print into images and voices and sounds. Well, But hearing somebody read it with their intonation, and it's really funny because sometimes I listen to everything chapter by chapter, and I guess we'll go into the detail later, but I listen to the whole book before I okay it, obviously, right? And when I do that, I sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, wait, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't think she sounded that way, my character,
right.
or the hero, but I totally get into it. I'm like, and I had to learn that at the beginning of the process to trust the narrator, because she's an artist. I guess the way writers are artists too, but she's a master of her craft. I'm the master of my craft, so I need to leave that to her. And yeah, it's great. We have a good partnership, and as I said, you just hear that listeners find a different aspect. So I think that might be, for me, the ideal. There's a thing called, what is it? It's whisper synced. Like you can get a book that's so you can read it, a chapter in the ebook, and if it's whisper synced, you can then listen to the audio, and it automatically knows where you are. Don't ask me how this works. I'm not a technician.
I know, right? It's magic.
Chapter 1 and 2 at home, and then I can get in the car, and it automatically gives me chapter 3, or if I have to pause in the middle of chapter 3, it picks up in the right spot, whether that's ebook or audio, wherever I left off. And I'm thinking that's probably, if you imagine yourself like in a 3D movie, it's kind of that extra dimension to your story experience, I guess.
Yes. And for the listeners, most of our listeners are readers, and I don't know if they know the behind the scenes, but how did you find Kelsey? How does it, when you decide I'm going to make an audiobook, how did that come together for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'd like to hear how you've done it too. I knew I saw, audiobooks are very popular, and there's a lot of people who want stories in different formats, so I started to investigate, and there's different ways of doing it. You can sell your book to a publisher, like an audio publisher, and then they kind of take care of everything. And you just book, and it's done, and you wouldn't know how it runs. But I wanted to be involved in it myself, so you can go, Audible has a little platform where you can audition narrators, and this whole new world opened up to me. You don't know about other fields, so you go in there and you can put, I want a female narrator. You can say, young voice, an older voice, whatever you can, different accents you can put in, and you ask people to audition for your work. So that's how I found Kelsey. A lot of people were auditioning, and Kelsey was just great. She has just I wish she was here. Let's hope she gets here. She has a much better voice than I do. And these audio, these narrators it's such an interesting branch, I guess. They do audiobooks, they do commercial voiceovers. She might be the person saying, Palmolive, it's the best, whatever commercial.
Right.
Some of them do games. How gaming is a big thing, and I don't know, I'm not a gamer, but I suppose they say things, that say like in your space or something. They do those voices. Some of them are actors as well, like actually on-screen actors. So they're really interesting. So it was a steep learning curve. It's a lot of work to make an audiobook. But now that I know how it works, and Kelsey and I have worked together in so many books, it's just so much smoother. What has your experience been like, Lisa? What have you found?
Well, I've had both experiences. So one of my series was picked up by Audible, and they did everything. I did talk to the narrators that they had picked, because most of them reached out to me and they wanted to know, does anyone have an accent? How do you see this character, sounding, all this kind of thing. And it was interesting. I always build Pinterest boards when I'm writing, because it helps me, visualize what the settings and the people look like. And so it was funny. I sent the narrators the Pinterest boards, because I was like, I don't know, this is how they look in my head. And all of them came back going, that is so helpful. Thank you. I was like, okay. So, but because, you described that they have a deep voice, but I guess if they look at the board and see that it's Bradley Cooper, it gives them an idea of what I'm picturing, I guess, or something. But so that was fun. But you were right. I had absolutely no say in anything, and the books were out and for sale, and they sent them to me, my copies, and that was when I first listened to an audiobook, and I was like, oh my gosh, for some reason I thought audiobooks was just somebody reading a book out loud. But these are like totally acted, and they had done male and female narration alternating. So anyway, it was really interesting, and I fell in love with audio. So then I was like, okay, I want to do one myself. So the Muse Chronicles, I went to ACX and I auditioned narrators. And like you said, oh my gosh, you get so many, and so many of them are so good. And you're like, I don't know. So that was interesting, and the whole process of going through it and listening and giving notes that are useful feedback for the narrator, that was a learning curve also. And because it's hard as an author, we write things that we hope people can visualize, but writing what it sounds like is really hard. And so trying to give them helpful feedback, this sounds kind of whiny and pinched, or whatever, to get the audio that we want. So yeah, it was a real collaborative process to do that, but it was super fun. I mean, it is like making your book in 3D, and I would guess if your book ever became a movie, then that would be like 4D because you could see them. I don't know, but it was really yeah, it was a cool experience. But it does take a lot of time because you're listening to all of it, right? Do you guys listen together as she's recording, or do you wait for the whole audiobook and then listen?
Yeah, so I learned what works best for me is Kelsey just keeps me updated. Every time she finishes one or two chapters, and once, so she will typically take about 3 weeks to record a whole book, and she'll usually do maybe 2 chapters a day, and what you hear is roughly, if you hear half an hour of audio, it typically takes at least 3 times that long for them to record it. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, so it's a lot of work, and their voice has to stay fresh and so on. So there's that. So my first book, I just waited until the end, and then I was like, oh my God, now I have 8, like an 8-hour book I have to listen to, and it was just to listen to, but I'm a busy person, and I know my story. Right. I want to listen to other audiobooks. So what I've learned is she updates me and says, okay, I've just done 2 chapters, and that's great. So at the end of the day, when everything else is done, I get to, it's like a job that I have to do, but I really enjoy it. So what I do, Lisa, I get my headphones on, I close the door so the family is out of the way, and I get my coloring book out. And I listen to a few chapters because I'm too fidgety a person to just sit and listen to audio. So my audio consumption is cooking, I'll be jogging, I'll be driving, but obviously I really have to listen. I'm listening in for maybe little clicks that come through, like speaking noises or mistakes or, something like that, because even the best narrator will slip up, somewhere in the 5,000 words that she has to in one go. So coloring is perfect for me, and it's super relaxing. Oh my God, it's so relaxing. And so that's what I do. I color and I listen to the chapters so that it also speeds up the whole process for my readers, because if we waited until Kelsey did the whole book, about 3 weeks, then you'd have to wait for me to be able to listen to it. And let's say that took me another 10 days, just trying to fit it in, because I'm still writing, obviously, other things I have to do. Right. That delays the whole process. So this way, when she finishes last chapter, the next day I'm ready, and I send her my list of whatever things I found that need to be changed. And so, like I said, these little slips of the tongue, sometimes it's not a mistake, but when you hear it aloud, you realize you've written a tongue twister. And that's when it's on the page, you pick up on it, or, whatever little things that you might say, it comes out a little snippy or a little too whiny, or, however you want to direct that part. And I really try to stay out of that, but there's, from time to time, there's something that I would like changed. So I send her that list, and she has to make those changes. So just imagine, there's a lot of technology that goes into this. So the narrator has to have a skill set. She has to be a narrator and a producer. So she has to go back and she's got the whole book, and maybe, the book says, Connor strode up the stairs to the house on top of the hill. And let's say there was a click in the middle of stairs, or maybe instead of he strode up the stairs, maybe she slipped the tongue, or it didn't sound like it sounded like he stole, something went wrong.
Right.
So she's going to take that one sentence and edit it in. She's got to find the right part of the audio and edit it in and make it all fit smoothly, seamlessly. So that is a step that I was ignorant about. You think, well, they just recorded, right? So there is another round, and then finally we're done and we're happy, and then you give it to ACX, which is the producing side of Audible, and their technicians get to work on it. And
they take
sometimes
forever.
I love their technicians. Well, I've had in as little as 3 weeks, which is great, but other times there's one time it took like 7 months. It was just crazy, and
oh my
it's
gosh.
very unfair for it's terrible. So that part is out of our hands. So it's always kind of a happy surprise.
Right, when the book goes live.
So if you get an email from me that goes, yay, my audiobook is live, now you know I am so excited.
Right. Yes. When we were doing my Muse Chronicles, twice it happened that we would put the books in for the final audio review, and then we would start on the next book. And then we would start on the next book. So often there were 2 books in for audio review at the same time. At one point there were 3. Well, for some reason, one of them came out like in 3 days, but the other 2 were not. So when you go to look at the series on the Audible website, it's like book 1, 2, and book 6. And I'm like, what? It was craziness. But because apparently it doesn't matter what order they come in. It's just whenever Audible technicians go through and put them up. So anyway, so my series was way out of order for a while.
My gosh. I think someday we'll look back on this like as the caveman days of audio and be like, laugh about it.
Right. Right. We're not quite to the laughing stage yet.
Sometimes we just cry.
Right. Sometimes we just weep.
Yeah. It is so amazing just to think that how easily you can get an audiobook and you just order it and zoom. It comes through the ether and you could be listening in 5 minutes from now, So that part is pretty amazing.
That part is amazing. Yeah.
Something else is I have my new series, my most recent series is called Fire Maidens, and it's set in Europe. So poor Kelsey so the first book is in Paris, and just has little things like, merci mon chéri, and, little things like that. But she's had to try to get the accent right. I'll just throw in French, little snippets of Italian in the book about Rome or the book about Venice, and little snippets, there's Scotland and so on, or funny words, like toasting in another country, another language, drinking to your health, or whatever it is. So poor Kelsey has had to do. Now she doesn't do accents, so this is an interesting issue, right? So you have a character. So let's say have Fire Maiden Scotland, obviously set in Scotland with our, a Highlander hero who's also a dragon, because of course. And what I think people might not appreciate is, how hard it is to properly do an accent, right? And you don't want to butcher an accent and turn everybody off. And there's no one narrator who could do every one of my heroes set, in England, London, Rome, Portugal, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'm on to Greece is the next one. Nobody can get each of those heroes or heroines' accents exactly right. So the approach Kelsey and I use, and a lot of people really appreciate it, they write that in the reviews, is she just narrates it in her mild American accent. Because I think, of course, it'd be great. If I had a huge budget, I would hire, Sean Connery, unfortunately. Can't hire him anymore, but I would have.
Right.
And
but somebody with that Scottish, yeah.
Exactly. But short of that, so of course there's that short of managing that, you you can completely immerse yourself in the story, and it's actually better that way because it's kind of, your mom reading to you when you were a little kid. She did all the voices, and you fell into the story, and at a certain point the voice is changing. It makes sense. You might have a lot of people have alternating narrator, male and female for different chapters. But it's just hard to do, and if you can't do it 100% right, then the best solution is just use your normal voice and use her amazing narrative powers to just bring that story to life. So that's kind of an interesting thing that I'm not sure that people are fully aware of, like how that works.
Right, and when you're auditioning narrators, if you have the accents that are going to be needed for the book, you put all that in the auditions and all this kind of. It's very interesting how it all goes because most of the narrators will say which accents they can do, and I had never even thought of any of that until my books were coming out in audio, and I'm like, oh my gosh. This is a thing, so as a reader, you don't think about it, but yeah, these are all actual things that you have to, decide how you're going to tackle them when an audiobook is coming out.
Yeah. And you have to know what you're talking about. Like, if I'm reading a book and it's about businessmen in Chicago, I don't know enough about businessmen in Chicago that I will just read it and buy everything you tell me. If it's a good story, I'll just love it. But if I was a businessman in Chicago and I had mistakes in there, it would completely wreck the story for me. So, for example, you might have a narrator who claims that they can do, I can do a British accent. There is no such thing as a British accent, as there is no such thing as an American. How many different accents do we have? And, for example, England, it's a geographically smaller country and so many accents. So, which accent you're talking? Is it going to be a posh one? Is it going to be a fancy one? Is this person from Yorkshire Dales? Up from Scotland? It's totally different. So maybe someday, I think that's called full production audio, where it's actually like acted out, where they actually have like 6 speakers, and it's almost like a movie without the visuals. But it's amazing. Like, if you've never heard audio, a good narrator, and Kelsey does this, and I'm sure yours do too, is they just sweep you into the story world, and you just follow along. It's just kind of magical in that way. Really, very much like when we were little kids and we got stories read to us, Right.
Well, and I feel like with audio, at the end of a series, I always feel like that with books too. At the end of a series, I'm like, oh, I have this hole in my heart. But it's even worse in audiobooks because you feel like you know all these people, and whatever voice your narrator uses for the different characters, when they reappear in another book, you're like, oh my gosh. And then, and so at the end, it's like you lost a whole family. At the end of a series, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? and it's a little different because you're attached to them.
My only answer or solution to that, because I 100% agree, and especially our stories, you put these poor characters through the ringer, right? It wouldn't be an interesting story if they met and fell in love and everything was easy and they lived happily ever. Bad stuff has to happen. So you reach the end of the story and you're not ready to let them go, but you kind of want to see, well, what happens next, right? Like, are they, do they have a honeymoon? Do they have kids? Are they fixing up the house? So I write bonus scenes for all my books, and it's just a little, just like an extra chapter. And some of them are in audio. On my Twin Moon series, you can actually get those. The more recent ones I haven't gotten done in audio. But I do love that solution for me as much as for my readers / listeners, because we can just spend that extra little, the extra half hour enjoying the story world. So that's something you said you put up the link to my website. So if you're a member of if you sign up for my newsletter, you get all those bonus scenes to read for free. But it's kind of like I do it for as much as I do it for anybody else. Yeah.
Right. That's really cool. And knowing that you're going to put your book out in audio, have you noticed at all that it changes a little bit about the way that you write the new books? Do you think about when you're writing it? Do you think about how it will be when she's narrating it? Have you noticed anything like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good that you bring that up because I think it's made me a better writer because it's very easy to write. Where are you going? He said. Well, I'm on the way to the store, she said. And somehow
right.
when you read that, we're so trained for those dialogue tags and those cues that your eye jumps over it.
Right.
But you can write. You don't need half of them. It's amazing how few you need. So it's taught me to hear my own dialogue as I write it, and do I really need to put that in? Because the reader, it's a quicker, more natural read. Even if you're going to read it instead of listening, and so definitely knowing that it will become audio has definitely, I think, improved just in tiny ways my storytelling. But I do also, some things are you can't, like you have to say he sighed or he muttered. You have to give cue. But so when I prepare the script for Kelsey, I actually put in some notes. So some things like it might be like, are you okay? And you go, I'm fine. And in the book it might be like, I'm fine. He growled. But I'll just put that in parentheses. So she leaves that out because you don't need, when you hear it, I'm fine, you don't need to hear he growled because she does it. She growls it. So mm-hmm. I put things in parentheses as kind of a cue to her, and she leaves out stuff that is unnecessary because she's bringing it to life. And she'll laugh, and she'll not cry, but she'll match her voice to the mood. And it's just amazing. Just you guys, you gotta listen because in the action scene, she's up, and you're on the edge of your seat, and in the contemplative getting to know you scenes, it's kind of, she slows down and kind of gets in the mood, and it's just it's really an art.
For sure, yeah. And do you think that is it your plan every time you write a book for it to come out in audio?
Yes, at this point, yes. I really enjoy it, and listeners like it, and it's, I think it's just a great new dimension. And as I said, now you can switch back and forth, and it's getting easier and easier. And I guess there's also the cost. So there's the cost to us, and there's the cost to the reader. So I'm always looking for ways to make things more accessible for listeners, because that's also an issue. But what just popped into my head too is I've had some lovely, lovely messages from people who have sight difficulties. They don't have full vision. I have a couple of fans who are legally blind or fully blind. And one of them, I just had an email exchange. She said, I just love your books, and my mom reads them to me, and I just love how you bring the landscape alive. I can smell it, I can hear it. And just talking, I say talking, I mean emailing to her a bunch of times, it just made me think, okay, what is her world like? And I actually wrote in a sight-impaired side character in one of my recent books, and that's Fire Made in Scotland. And she just loved seeing that, She loved having that in the book, and really appreciated. And I appreciate too that she's opened my mind to imagining things that I hadn't imagined. So I guess, that's part of this too. Thank goodness we have technology. We can do large print. When I think of my poor grandmother in her day, squinting or using a magnifying glass to get the book, and you needed the physical book. So now we have e-readers, we have audio. There's just so many ways you can
access
enjoy
that story.
I recently I hurt my arm, and just holding up a book or even a tablet was actually difficult, right? You want to lay back in bed, and to hold a book over your face takes a little bit more power than I thought. And just to put earphones on, and you can just listen to it instead. So,
Well, we're running out of time, and I could talk about this for hours, but how, before she cuts you off. How do you like readers to get in touch with you? Are you on Facebook? Should they just join your newsletter?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm on Facebook, Anna Lowe Books on Facebook, and I put a lot of, well, this is what I'm working on now, and so on and so on. There's also a great Facebook group called Paranormal Romance Audio for Fans, and then it has a hyphen and Aru, like AROOO. And that's a little community we have, like to exchange, say, well, I like this book, who can recommend a different book, et cetera, et cetera. Or sign up for my newsletter. You can find me on annalowebooks.com.
And I have a link right there for you guys to click. So thanks so much for being here, Anna. It was great to talk to you again.
Thanks so much, Lisa. You're so good at this. It's just always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.